Hi all, this is Anjali this side, and today I'm going to tell you how to use Netbeans for developing applications in Java. So Java, as you know, is a very well-known language, and for the beginners, it's a pure object-oriented language to work with. Now, the first thing is that I would like to tell you that this tutorial is only for the beginners, not for the professionals in Java. So it's for the people who are just trying their hand on NetBeans. So now when you start working in Java, the very first thing is you should be very clear with the purpose of using it. So the purpose of using over here is application development. We are going to make softwares which can be used by some other users. So we will be developing softwares for someone else and we are the programmers out here. Java is a very vast language. NetBeans is just a tool which is provided so that you can work in a convenient environment to develop your applications. That's why we say that NetBeans provide us a feature called RAD, that is Rapid Application Development. So here with less efforts, you can create better applications in Java. So it's all GUI, that's its graphical user interface, and you can easily just click on a few menus, select the options and work on it. Then we say that NetBeans is an IDE, that is Integrated Development Environment. Because as you see, there are so many screens over here in front of you on the desktop. This area is projects, which shows all the open projects in the system. Here I can go with different options. These are the different pages open. Since no control is selected, so property box is empty. Otherwise, if I have selected something, it shows me the properties of that control over here. So you'll get to know about all this as we'll start working on it. But this is why it's called integrated development environment, because all these parts are integrated with each other. What you select here is displayed here, and then what you select from here will be displayed here. So all the parts are related to each other. Now, when you have to make a new project in NetBeans, you have to click on File and then you have to click on New Project option. New project you have to do only once when you start with a new project. Once you already have a project and you have to make related files in that, we will be going to New File option instead of New Project option. So we're making a basic Java application. So we select Java from here and Java application from here. Click on Next, and over here you have to give name of your application. So I want to make a very simple thing. Let's say I want to make for some billing for a shopkeeper. So I just give the project name as billing. You can give whatever you want. So since we have this location and all coming off its own by default, it gets saved in documents, NetBeans projects. If you want to change the location, you can browse and change the location of the folder where you want the files to be saved. So let it be like this. We're not changing it right now. So we click on finish. It will create a project named billing in the given destination folder, and all the related files to this project will be stored in that folder itself. Now what we have to do is when we work in NetBeans, we work in two phases. One is the design phase and the other one is the code phase. Initially it makes this thing. The people who are familiar with programming, as if you've done C and C++ before, you know that the main is the startup function for execution of anything. Same is the case in Java, but for the beginners who are totally new to programming, just avoid it for the moment and just go to File and click on New File. So now I have to make a new file which should be a graphical user interface. So we have an option over here called Swing GUI Forms. There's another option called AWT GUI Forms. This is graphical user interface forms, but these are kind of outdated now. So the new ones are Swing GUI Forms. So we'll be using this. Out of this, we will be taking a frame. Frame means an actual window which can appear to the user when the user uses your software. So we click on next. Then you have to give a name to this frame. What do you want to give? So I give it like generate bill, something like that. And you cannot give spaces in the name. So you can put an underscore instead and then click on finish. So as I click on finish, I get this window which is called a blank frame. A frame is a container control. That means we can have more controls on it. You can change the size of the window by dragging with this icon over here. So I can choose which size of window I want at the time of execution and fix it like this. So you can see over here it's coming source and here it's design. So right now we are working in the design view. After that we'll shift to the source thing. Now first I need to make a design. I need to make a design where the user who would be using the application should be able to, let's say, enter the product name, cost of the product, and let it be the quantity of the product. And what I need to show in result is the amount, like what amount the user has to pay for it. And as we know, it's very simple that the amount would be simply cost into quantity. So whenever you start making a software, design is one thing, and when you go to programming, you always have to think in terms of input, process, and output. So for our this thing, our input will be the cost and quantity of the product, and processes to multiply that, and amount will be the result which comes after the multiplication of cost and quantity. So that will be the output for our software. Let's begin with it. On this side, you can see this palette on the right hand side of the screen. If you're not getting the palette, you can go to window option, and from here you can on the palette if it's not coming already. So in IDE tools, you have palette option. If you click on it, you get the palette in case it's not coming, but it's already there. So we will be using three controls in the very first session of NetBeans, that is label, text field, and button. So label is basically, as it is displaying the description, that it's a display area for a short text string or an image or both. That means you can just show a message to the user. User cannot make any changes in that. We can write whatever we want. We can put image in this as well. So drawing a label is very simple. Just click on the label, move your cursor here and drop it. That's it. Now you can change the size if you want with these drag icons. Similarly, for making a text field, just click on the text field and put it where you want it to appear. And the purpose of text field is where user will enter something. So if you want that user should type in something, we need a text field for that. And where we want to show something, we need a label for that. I don't want that J label one should be written in it. So I'll right click on it and there's an option called edit text. Click on edit text and here write whatever you want to write. I want to write product name since I'm making it for billing and I want user to enter the name of the product in the given text field. So to guide the user, I write product name so that user knows that what user is supposed to enter in the text field in front of it. And I want the text field to appear initially blank. So I again right click on it, edit text, and I make it blank. So the first label in text field is ready to be used. Now what I have to do is I have to make a few more. One option is I draw it again from there, and the second option is I'll just copy these two, paste it over here, put it like this, and I need one for the quantity. So, and I need one for the final amount. So this is it. Now I want to change the labels. This should be cost. This should be quantity. And this should be for the amount. But when the amount should be displayed, what should user do? For that, we have a button. So whenever we have to accept commands from user, we generally use buttons for that. So buttons are used to take commands from the users. We'll be making two buttons out here. One will be to calculate the bill, and I write bill on this. You can write whatever you want. And for the second button, I'm writing clear so that once user has done for a bill and he wants to do another one, he can clear the text fields before starting with the other one. So we have this bill clear and the design is almost complete. One more thing I would like to tell you is like text field is for user's input. So user can input the product name, user can input the cost, user can input the quantity, but user should not be able to allow to input the amount because amount we have to calculate and show. So user should not be able to make any changes in this box. There are two options for that. Either you use a label for this, don't use a text field. And second option is if you are using a text field, so click on the text field and on the right hand side, there is a property called editable. There is a tick in this. just remove this tick mark. So I just remove this tick mark. Now the user will not be able to make any changes in this box, rather can only see whatever is being displayed in it. If the property window is not coming here, you can just right click the text field, go to properties, so that you get the same property window opened over here as well. So this is our design. So our design is almost done. Now I want to put one more label here, let's say, and I write the heading of the screen, like the screen is for a billing system, but it's too small. I want to change the font and all. So as you can see in the properties, there's an option for font. Click on this, choose the font what you like, choose the size and all, and place it. You can do the same thing for the buttons and the text fields also. And we can change the foreground color as well. That color can be changed with the help of foreground option out here, right? So the design is done, but now we need to code. It will not work. I'll show you how to run this, but it will not work. We click on run, and there's an option called run file. You will not run the project because this will execute that main function which we saw on the first screen. We don't have to run that. We have to run this file. So we go to run file option, or you can press shift and F6 together to execute this. Now as it executes this, a window will appear with the same design which we have just made over here. We will be able to input the product name, cost and quantity, but it will not show any amount since the coding part is yet to be done. So design is done, but coding is yet to be done. So that we'll be doing soon. First I'll show you the outcome of this. Let's say if I have to buy a pen, the cost is 50 and the quantity is 4. I click on bill, but I don't get anything. I click on clear, but again it's not doing anything because the coding is not done yet. So the coding can be done by double clicking on the button on which you have to work. So I double click on bill, and it comes to the code window, or you can see the source window. You can see the source is highlighted now, and the cursor is coming at a place where it's written private void J button 1 action performed. So J button 1 action performed means that when the user will click on this button, then whatever we have written here will get executed. This coding part I'm just writing for the time being to explain you how it works. Then I'll explain you in detail in the next session that what variables are and how variables are used. For the time being, we'll be using, let's say, 3 variables here: cost, quantity and amount. So int says that I'm going to store variables in which we can have integer value, that is whole numbers which cannot have points. And to read the values from the text fields, we have commands called get text. So that would be the name of the text field by default is jtext field 1 was our first text field, but the quantity is in the second one. So I'll be writing jtext field 2 dot get text. This will help me to read the value whatever user has typed in text field 2 and take it in the variable q. And similarly, I want the cost from T3. So text field 3 I'll read. I'll explain you this code with the programming things a bit later. Then amount should be C into Q, that is cost into quantity, which needs to be shown in text field 4. So text field 4 dot, like we have get text to read the value, we have set text to set the value. So I set this value here. So this much code will show me the result. I'll show you how it works. And I'll explain you this code in the next session shortly. So I enter the product name. Let's say this time I enter pen. Then I enter cost. That's 50 and the quantity is 4. When I click on bill, I get the amount, which I was not getting earlier. So now I'll show you what exactly happened here. This text field is text field 2, this is text field 3, and this is text field 4. We did not require to read the name because it's not used in the calculation or any other processing. So we didn't read that value. Clear is still not working because we've not done any coding on that. What code I did on the bill button is this, where I wrote int q comma c comma amount. I can take any name whatever I want instead of q, c and amt, but that should be meaningful, and there are certain rules for naming the variable which you'll get to know soon. So we have to give some meaningful names here, and this line basically reads the value of text field 2 with the help of getText function. Integer.parseInt is a command which converts it to an integer value and puts it in the variable q. Similarly, the value of text field 3 is read and it's stored after being converted to an integer in the variable c. We multiply the thing and we put it in amount. Always the right hand side thing goes to the left hand side value, and then we've used setText to show the thing. And similarly, if I have to code for clear, I'll double click on clear and it comes to J button 2 action performed. That means when button 2 will be clicked, then this code will be executed. And what I'm supposed to do in this is I want to make the text fields blank. To make them blank, I have to change their text. So the command we'll be using is set text, and what we have to set? We have to set blank. So I'll just give 2 empty double quotes to set it to blank. And we have to do it with the rest of the 3. So I've just copied it and pasted it, and now changing the name of the text fields, and that's it. Now you can see that our clear button is also in a working mode. So it will set text as blank in the text fields. So text fields would be blank, and you can see empty text fields on the screen when clear button is clicked. So if I'm buying a chocolate, let it be 45 and I buy 7 of them. Bill is 315. If I click on clear, it's all clear, and I can enter the values again, work with it, anything. Bill, clear. So that's how we make a very basic application in Netbeans. Just takes a few input, just solves a simple formula and shows the result as an output. I hope it was useful to you. You could understand something out of it. The programming code I'll be explaining in detail in the next session. Thank you.